So, it was the other day. I was just randomly scrolling through my message requests on Discord, and among abundance of obvious Discord nitro scams and people asking for feed pics, there was this one message that caught my attention. It was something about market manipulation on Hypixel Skyblock, along with screenshots of just plain regular Porkchop being sold for allegedly 8 billion coins. For reference, a single Porkchop is worth about 5 coins. Well, that's more money I made in total, playing the game for over 3 years. And I was aware of market manipulation as a concept where you try to buy out the cheapest items on the market, artificially raising their price, and then try to relist them for that new, higher price. But there's one thing about the screenshot that just did not add up. So no matter how high you are able to raise the price, there still needs to be someone willing to pay it. And I'm sorry, but there is just no amount of convincing you can do to make someone spend what could be years worth of progress on some essentially useless item you could get for free in like 2 seconds. Which immediately led me to think a few options. Option 1. It's probably fake. Nowadays you can fake pretty much anything, Minecraft screenshots belonging to one of the easiest to do so. Option 2. Someone was trying to illegally transfer money, which already has been covered many times and I don't think I have much to add to it. Or option 3. It could just be an accident. Given enough time, it is bound to happen, but not only that would mean the vast majority of the times it's simply not going to work and you'll end up just losing the money. When it eventually does work, someone wouldn't actually mean to spend that money. And I know some of my videos are getting a little bit of views, but I'm not trying to speedrun the celebrity status by hitting the legendary skip to the part when I just get cancelled for scamming people out of all of their money. If I'm supposed to show this as some kind of cool, overpowered money-making method, it would be a terrible idea for a video. But as I kept reading, I realized that's not actually the reason he wanted me to make a video. He wanted for the method to die. And to be fair, I do be known for making methods die. Except that just made the whole thing even more confusing. Why? Why would he want it to die? So wait, does it mean it wasn't an accident and you can actually do it at will? How? How does it work then? Who are those people that bought the items? Who are those people that sold the items? What did they do with the money? How long it has been going for? What a simple feature that is supposed to prevent you from losing money has to do with all of it? Well, there's only one way I could think of that would answer all of those questions. And that would be to step into the dark side and try to replicate it myself, marking the beginning of a story that would end up with me somehow making hundreds of millions while saving other people's billions in an actual attempt at getting me hacked. And it all started with a simple question. But wait, so how would that even work? Because to be honest, I had no idea. Although, that single screenshot gave out surprisingly a lot of information. So the offers on the bazaar are listed in order, starting from the cheapest to the most expensive. And you actually cannot choose which one you want to buy. If you want to buy a stack, it will be automatically taken from the cheapest offer. If there is not enough items in that offer, the rest will be taken from the next cheapest, and so on. Meaning, the only way for anyone to spend 8 billion on a Porkchop is when all previous offers are gone. Which is probably gonna be expensive, but sure, I thought, for science, I guess I can waste some money. Except then what? I set up an offer for 100 million and hope the very first person that will stumble on the item won't notice this very much visible enormous number in the middle of his screen and buys it anyway? Because if that very first person notices this very much visible enormous number in the middle of his screen, he would also probably like to make 8 billion coins from selling just a regular Porkchop, putting his offer just above mine, for which I'll have no other choice but to respond by putting an offer right above his, marking pretty much the end of our run, because then we would just start undercutting each other until the price is pretty much back down where it started. And yeah, spending whatever does it cost to buy every freaking item on the market for a slight chance the very first person is actually blind, wants to buy an item and not, for example, sell it, and have enough money to afford whatever ridiculous price you come up with, didn't seem like a very viable strategy. But also, made me realize exactly what I had to do. So when it comes to checking the price of an item, there is only one window that really matters. It's the first one after you click on an item, displaying the top buy and sell offer, and giving you the general idea of how much can you expect to pay for an item. I just need to make sure that it appears as normal as possible. And I had just an idea to do so. So first I would buy out all the items and set up the price for something ridiculous, like 100 million. But then, instead of waiting for someone to notice it and bring the price down, I would do it myself. Which actually cannot be done instantly because of a feature that is preventing you from accidentally typing a number way off the current price and potentially losing a lot of money. But you can each time cut it by half, which should be fast enough to do it before anyone notices. By the way, you may ask, so what was the point of you bringing the price up just to immediately bring it down? Well, because then you leave only a single item at that normal price, so from the outside, it would look like nothing is out of the ordinary. Just a regular bazaar page, with orders listed starting from the cheapest to the most expensive. And you actually cannot choose which one you want to buy. If you want to buy a stack, it will be automatically taken from the cheapest offer. If there is not enough items in that offer, the rest will be taken from the next cheapest. Well, my intense efforts to reverse engineer a Minecraft screenshot got interrupted by a follow-up message containing the precise instructions on how to execute the method. Which, being almost certain I already know how it works and it being over 3 pages long, I decided to just skim over it, and among a lot of meaningless numbers and made up terms like a buffer order my brain didn't even make an attempt to make sense of, there was one sentence that felt weirdly familiar. But you don't submit it yet. But you don't submit it yet. Oh, wait. Does it work for all Skyblock menus? Cause yeah, that would make things a lot easier. Well, to break down my cryptic reaction, what I was referring to was in the last video. When I opened a sacrificing menu, it wasn't being constantly updated. And I didn't know another sacrifice has started, allowing me to start a second sacrifice at the same time. And from what it seems, it works for Bazaar as well. So you cannot set up an offer for 10 coins while the price is like 100 million, as it would be too much of a discrepancy. But if on the first account you're gonna open the menu and the price is 10 coins, then on a second account you're gonna buy out all the items and set up the price for 100 million. Because the first menu wasn't updated, the game still would think the price is 10 coins, allowing you to set that price immediately, making the whole setup happen in like seconds, and basically impossible for anyone to notice. Okay, I mean, there is a second page where you can see top 7 orders, at which from my experience no one looks at anyway, but if we want to be absolute certain, I guess we can create 7 fake orders for 1 item each, just to fill up that page and eliminate any chance at being spotted. But yeah, other than that, I think I'm starting to change my mind. I don't think there's a chance this doesn't work. But still, the one remaining thing was to actually do it. So first I needed to find an item I would do it on, which was not difficult since there is a website with an entire section dedicated just for that, with data like the buyout price, how many items you would have to buy, the risk, basically everything you would need to market manipulate. And well, the first thing I noticed that kinda surprised me was how cheap was to buy out the entire market for a lot of the items. Like only 2 million to buy every feather on the market. Like I could swear it would be way more than that. And well, later on I came up with a theory on why would that be, which if true would be like the biggest plot twist of the whole thing, but I'll get more into that later. So the obvious thing to do would be to simply go for the cheapest item to buy out. But after a second of thought, I realized there is one final way someone could notice it. Right at the end, as you're about to finalize your purchase, the true total amount you are about to pay is displayed. Which after you just saw that the price per item is 70 coins and even being terrible at math, you can safely assume that after you're gonna multiply it by 80, it is not gonna equal 2 billion. So without even looking at it, a lot of people will just instantly click it. But if I wanted to make sure of it, looking at the upcoming spooky event, I figured when there would be a better occasion not to pay attention and just instantly click it, than while you are in a rush to make the most of a very limited time event and instantly buying one of the most necessary items you instinctively remember being very cheap. My eyes were set on the spooky bait. And so, as planned about an hour before the event, on my first account I opened the menu and created a sell offer for whatever was the price at the moment. I think it was like 50 coins. Then on a second account I started buying out all the items. The fastest way to do it is to create a buy offer that is higher than all the sell offers you want to buy. For example, if you create a buy offer for 60 coins, it will automatically buy all the items up to that price, up to 71,000 items at a time, instead of the 2,000 you would normally be able to do with just your inventory. So I did that a few times and not even a minute later I had an empty market. So I created a high offer for 10 million coins, switched to my first account and submitted that normal offer I prepared earlier for 50 coins. Except I totally forgot that the buy offer I used to buy out all the items was still there. And by design, it was higher than the normal price of 50 coins. So instead it appearing on top of the big offer, it got instantly sold. To myself. Leaving the high offer wide exposed to everyone and me without the only menu capable of bringing the price down. And in the time it took me to realize what has actually happened, someone already noticed the unusually high price and started undercutting it. So I panicked, brought the price back down to normal and abandoned the item altogether, later realizing that I wasn't even recording. So yeah, that is the best recreation of events I can give you. In short, it was a disaster. However, a disaster that I did learn from, and my second attempt looked much different. Well, still traumatized by my first attempt, I went for a much safer option. The box of seeds, an item with the sell price basically the same as the NPC value, meaning even if I failed, I could just easily sell the items back to the NPC, risking pretty much nothing. So I repeated the same steps, this time making sure the low offer is high enough not to get insta-sold and... Holy shit. It worked immediately. Leaving me a little speechless for a moment, looking at the 100 million I just made from selling literally just a single box of seeds. I just didn't expect it to happen so soon. I mean, for what it is, I thought there would be at least some challenge to pull it off, and not that I can just open Bazaar, set a couple of offers and a few minutes later have 100 million in my account. Like, do you know how much work it used to take to make that kind of money? Or more precisely, how much work it did take, and will take, to now make the money back. And yeah, if that wasn't clear enough, I can see who bought the offer and obviously will be returning all of the money. Yes, I believe you bought one of my box of seeds for 100 million. Yeah, you want it back? Yes, please? Yeah, no worries. I still would like to enjoy the privileges of not being cancelled. Thank you very much. So we chatted for a bit and he told me that about a week ago he lost 250 million to the same kinda thing, which made me feel even worse. We did it to him the second time, even though this time he got his money back, but also that proved a couple of things. One, the screenshots were very much true and it is something you can absolutely do right now. And two, it is something you very much shouldn't be able to do, where just some poor, unsuspecting player could potentially lose everything he ever worked for so easily. But don't worry, Technoblade, your contribution to science was very important and you and I will put this to the end. Maybe. Possibly. Could be the case. Well, filled with confidence after such an easy successful attempt, I decided to give it another go. This time, just lazily going for the first item on the list. And it was a big mistake, because it would go unnoticed by an underground community of people market manipulating, which I didn't know even existed at that point. But only a few minutes later, I got visited by a mysterious man who immediately just straight up started interrogating just some random dude sitting on my island, asking questions like what am I doing and if he's working with me. Then he turned to me and just straight up asked, "Are you market manipulating?" Well, not being sure at the moment if I just want to straight up come out or not, after thinking for a second, I dropped the most cool, calm and collected "What?" I'm a genius, they don't suspect a thing. Well, turned out they did, because after the fact I found out I have been a subject of quite heated discussion on some Discord group, which I also got an invite link to, so I created a secret Discord account and decided to do some investigating. And my worst fears had been confirmed. My cover was blown. People already knew I was making a video on this, and some of them even devised a plan to grief my every attempt at market manipulating, so I wouldn't think it's a good money-making method and don't make a video on this. Which I just thought was hilarious. But apart from that, I also got a couple of DMs from members of the Discord server. Some strongly advising me not to make a video about this. Yeah, and why is that exactly? Would you like to add anything else to your case? As well as from people offering help and some genuine tips, like using your old account not to get recognized. As if it wasn't the first thing anyone would think of, but thanks anyway. And speaking of old, it just so happened that I had just the perfect account for the job. So I don't know if you remember, but about a year ago, or just a few videos back, I made a video when I challenged myself to, on a new profile, make 1 billion coins in half a week. And if you are wondering what I do with that money and account, well, the answer is nothing. So I just have this brand new account with 1 billion coins on it, and since I never once mentioned its name, no one knows it belongs to me. And speaking of a name, it's honestly probably the best thing about this account. Because who else would you expect to do some shady business on a Minecraft server if not the Jeffrey Bezos himself? Because, you know, Jeffrey Bezos, if he was a bozo, which he is, but also referencing the best Minecraft series there is such a good name. I can't believe I was the first one to thought of this. But anyhow. And so I got to work, manipulating a few more items, learning more and more intricacies of the method, as well as getting some of the reactions from people that fell for it, with the vast majority clearly not being aware of this being a thing and instead blaming themselves for the mistake, and some of them not even realizing they lost the money until I pointed it out. Also, there was this guy who clearly confused about the whole thing, thought he lost money because of inflation, and when I offered him his money back he just told me to keep it. Except I don't think he realized how much he has just lost, because after telling him he seemed clearly startled. So to spare him the awkwardness of actually asking the money back after he just told me to keep it without saying anything, I just sent him the trade request. He understood. However, apart from market manipulating myself, I have also noticed other people trying to do it. Usually you can tell by just looking at the items on the top of the list, with suspiciously low amount of items that keeps getting lower, which either means someone really needs a lot of enchanted rabbit hides for some reason, or he's trying to manipulate the market. And the fact I knew exactly what they were trying to do as well as the steps to get there presented an opportunity I just couldn't let pass. So one common thing in every manipulation is that first you need to buy every item on the market. So if you're gonna catch someone as they are doing it, well, then you can just keep setting up overpriced offers, and as long as you don't make it obvious, they'll probably just buy it. However, the key is to make seem like just a random bystander and don't let them know that you know. Because if you let them know that you know, this will probably happen instead. Wait, they are sending me an invite. Oh no, I think they know. I'm pretty sure they know. Yo, sup? Also, it didn't even dawn to me at that point, but that name, it seemed familiar. And I was right. Because out of all people I could have caught manipulating, it was one of the guys that offered me help earlier. So you can only imagine my reaction when I realized that, like, way too late watching the footage, but anyhow, I didn't know that then, so we just continued our conversation. I saw you on Bazaar Meta, which was the name of that Discord server, and which in hindsight I shouldn't have called my secret Discord account the same as my in-game name, but in my defense, it is a cool name, okay? It is a cool name. Just wanted to know, why are you griefing us right now? What do you mean? You are setting sell offers of redstone, you know that. Yeah? It's called flipping orders. I'm acting so suspicious they don't believe a thing. You know manipulating, you ain't need to lie to me, you have 1.2 billion purse with level 14. Well, joke's on you, I actually made it legit. But he was right, there was no point playing dumb. But there was point playing dead, so I just stopped responding for a while. Okay, I mean, I didn't do it on purpose, I just got occupied with something else, and I don't know if they forgot to kick me or just didn't care, but they just carried on whatever they were doing, while I was still in the party and listening. How much they were making, how much they were not making, how much they were selling the method for, or how they would deal with people trying to grieve them, by either paying them off or coming into an agreement not to screw each other over while they will be trying to screw other people over. Makes sense. And griefing seems to be a big issue for them, because I didn't tell you that earlier, but when I joined that Discord server, there was one thing that stood out to me the most. A full reporting system made for people who were simply trying to stop them from manipulating, containing the information like the time they would grieve or what they wanted to stop, later finding out they allegedly even have a bot tracking those accounts whenever they go online, which at the time I thought was a little bit overkill for a stupid blog game, but it made sense, as some of them would then take the stolen coins and sell it for IRL money, so I guess it would make sense they would want to do it more efficiently. And well, at that point I could have kept going, manipulating more items, but there would be no point in that. I saw and learned enough, and now the question was, how do you stop it? Because it's not going to be that easy. I mean, yeah, I could probably just release this video making people aware and that would do it, but that seemed kinda boring. And knowing what I know, I wanted to at least try if I could do it by myself. Cause I mean, there was already that one idea at the back of my mind that I just couldn't see how it wouldn't work. So my first instinct was to set up some sort of blockade, a slightly overpriced offer that would stop the ridiculously overpriced offer from getting accidentally bought out. Well, one issue with that idea. A feature that is preventing you from accidentally setting a price way off the current top price. The exact limit is 50% above or below that price, which is fine when the item costs like 100,000, as you can set up an offer for 150,000, making that someone would have to overpay 50,000 per item to remove that offer. And even with less than 1,000 items at that price, you can make it expensive enough not to be worth buying out. The actual problem are the cheap items. So if we gonna, for example, take that redstone for 5 coins, well, now the maximum price you can set up is immense. 7.5 coins. Which, trust me, is stopping no one. They can just buy it out and keep going. And yeah, you can be annoying and keep setting it up until they send you a party request trying to pay you off, so you actually leave them alone, which, being a man of integrity and knowing what they are trying to do, you kindly refuse, leaving them with no other option than to wait until you inevitably get bored and leave them anyway, but all that assuming you actually see them manipulating. Cause otherwise, an offer for 7.5 coins would be like putting an extra layer of air in front of your house, hoping that the air resistance will be now high enough to stop the robbers from getting in. Basically, it would be pointless. And for it to actually act as blockade, I would need to set up an offer for much higher than that. And if only there was a way to set up an offer for much higher than it's supposed to be. Yeah, that's right, my plan was to use market manipulation to stop market manipulation. So just as before, I would start by looking for items cheapest to be manipulated. You know, the kind of items people trying to market manipulate would be interested in. But instead, waiting for them to inevitably get manipulated, I would do it first. Same as before, I buy out all the items, and when there is none left and I am free to set the price to whatever I want, I set it to like 300 coins. Which is low enough not to be worth manipulating under it, and multiplied by 71,000, which is the maximum amount of items per offer, should be high enough to stop it from being bought out. Then I just never remove the offer, repeat the same steps for all the items that could potentially be manipulated, which, looking at the list, shouldn't be that many, and bam! I stopped market manipulation. Easy, right? Well, to be determined, but confident in my idea and excited to test my theory, I decided to implement it right away. Starting with wheat, I suppose, which someone was trying to manipulate as we speak. Which is kinda good for me actually, cause like normally I would have to buy out all the items myself, but if someone is going to do it for me, I'm not gonna complain. Well, the same could not have been said about the guy whose manipulation I just ruined, who joined my island right after and very much complained, while also trying to manifest why buzzer manipulation is a perfectly legit way to make money. Which I feel like needs to be addressed, cause technically you are not forcing anyone to do anything, all you do is set up an offer, so it's not your fault someone didn't pay attention and bought it. So I can see there an argument being made, but I would not put this guy in charge of that, with his main point being it was built into the game, therefore it must be legit. Which is just such a dumb argument, I feel weird even arguing against, but if I had to, well, every non-legitimate way to make money, like, I don't know, duping, was also in some way, give it unintentionally, but still built into the game. So yeah, just because you can do something, does it make it automatically okay to do it? His second argument was that it's the same as auctioning something for 1 billion. AKA, it's the same as another popular scam on Hypixel. Okay, wait, so you are arguing for it being a scam or against? Because now I'm confused. And his final argument was that people need to be careful. For which, I agree. Please be careful. But that doesn't change the fact that you are literally the one doing this. In this particular case, you are the only reason they need to be careful. Which is not to say, hey guys, let's all be nice so we can stop having to pay attention. We always probably gonna have to pay attention. The point is, you are not just a random bystander who noticed someone not being careful, dropping his wallet, and then you decided to be a terrible person for not returning it. You are the one making the contraption that is meant to drop someone's wallet in this analogy. So yeah, you basically stole someone's money with a purpose of stealing someone's money, which I don't think should be a legit way to make money. Especially when that's not even the end of the story. And the way I did it is not how it's usually being done. It is much more sinister than that. So when I got a bit more familiarized with the way it all works, I went back to that instruction I got at the beginning and decided to once again give it a read. And besides finally understanding what did they mean by all that stuff, I noticed this one sentence at the end which I thought perfectly summarized the mindset of people doing it when they called my method, to quote, by far the worst, due to it being inconsistent. And yeah, it makes sense, because basically all I'm doing is setting up an offer, and most people not gonna fall for it simply because they won't be able to afford it. And that's why. What you should do instead, according to them, is to seek a person with a high purse. Then do math, so that when he buys a specific amount of items, it will perfectly clear out his purse. And pretending to be a new player, ask for help with a crafting recipe requiring that specific amount of items. And as a proof of that method working, there was a screenshot attached. And well, there is a lot to unpack here. So we don't have much context to how it started, but from the very little we can see, it is a conversation between some poor non-player named Hyper Ultimate and rich MVP Plus named 300th, who presumably gave Hyper Ultimate some tip for progression or something, because the response he got from Hyper was, "No, but I'm poor." Suggesting that maybe he would do the discussed thing, whatever it is, but right now he simply cannot afford it. Which we are almost certain was followed by an immediate trade request from 300 attempting to probably just give him whatever he needed, because the next message is from Hyper again saying, "No, I can't take that." For which 300 assured him that it's fine, he's rich and he should just take it. But Hyper Ultimate, the man of his principles, once again refused, saying that 2 million is way too much for him to accept. Overall, a very nice and wholesome conversation between some two very respectable gentlemen. And which is when our main character comes in with his clever scheme, and who had every possible reason to go ahead and say, "You know what, he seems like a nice guy, I'll have plenty more opportunities to do it on far worse people, like, I don't know, maybe some actual scammers, which not only will be justified, people will praise me for it." But no, he went ahead and stole almost all of 300th money anyway. Which at this point, I'm not even asking why. I'm just asking, how? Are you able to just don't care? Like, at this point you could as well be stealing from a charity. Think about the children, man. But okay, it's just some random guy. I kinda get it. What I don't get is, why do you need a calculator to subtract 30 from 54? Like, you know it's basically 5 minus 3, right? But anyhow, going back to the guy arguing that this is a legit way to make money, I'm sorry, but as for right now, you don't really have a leg to stand on. And then he just lost it. But you're gonna make a stupid video that everyone knows about already. There is so many things you don't know about manipulating. Which I'm not sure if he's just overly confident that there is something complicated to it, or maybe there is actually some secret tech. But sure, I'm willing to admit I probably don't know everything. Except I don't need to. I know that you need to buy every item on the market, and you're not going to do that if there is some innocent offer standing in your way. So I replied, "I don't need to know. I know enough." And he just continued, "You don't know anything, LMAO. You only know 1,064 wheat. Click. That's it." Not exactly true, but sure. I can teach Hypixel things about Bazaar they don't know. You don't know shh. You think you're gonna put it to the end? Good luck putting it to the end. And just like that, he left. Even leaving some random guy confused about what the hell just happened. And little did I know, it wouldn't be the last time we would meet. But for now I just continued with my plan, going for the next item on the list, which this time I had to manipulate myself, but it was fine, cause it would cost only like less than $1 million. And just like that, a second item was excluded from being manipulated. Which is when it hit me, with a massive realization about what have I just done. So this list shows you the best items for market manipulation. By setting a single offer for 300 coins, I just removed both of those items from the list, as they are now too expensive to be considered quote-unquote good for market manipulation. Except that's not exactly true. It's not good only because of that single offer, controlled by a single person. A person who at any time could choose to cancel the offer and instantly make it good again. So if someone was smart, they could just hide their best items, in which case I would have no idea which items are actually being manipulated. And to be sure, I would need to manipulate pretty much every item on the market, which not only would take ages, I don't think I could even afford to do it, to be honest. Luckily, there was a solution. I didn't have to manipulate all of them right away and potentially lose money for no reason. I just needed to buy a single of each item and put it 50% above the top price, which yes, is stopping no one and in a lot of cases would be only like a few coins above that price. But due to the sheer amount of items in front of it, trust me, it is never getting bought out. Of course, that is unless someone is manipulating that item. And I have 4 accounts with 4 profiles with 28 bazaar slots on each one, which should be enough to cover pretty much every item on the market, like casting a net with a bunch of baits, so that every time I would log in, I would know exactly which items were being manipulated, and make it so that they wouldn't be anymore. And my plan worked perfectly, giving me basically an overview on the entire market and allowing to one by one shut down more and more items. Not only that, but in some cases, a message that someone just bought your offer would pop up while I was in the game, meaning the manipulation attempt is about to happen. Which is honestly the best scenario, as you can just pull up your popcorn and watch as they waste their time and money buying out all the items thinking they can pull off their clever scheme, while in fact they're just doing all the work for you while digging their own grave deeper and deeper. And when they are finally done buying out the entire market within a brief few second window when there are no items and you can set the price to whatever you want, one of their accounts sets the big price, the other account sets the normal price, and there's also you in the middle, ruining everything and only imagining their frustration knowing that there's just nothing they can do. But you know what's the best part? The offer I just stopped was from the same guy, laughing about me not knowing anything, which I know is kinda BM, but I just couldn't stop myself from visiting his island just to say, so close. Needless to say, he joined my island right after, and even angrier than before, started threatening to do things the hard way. Whatever that means. That even his partner had to step in and try to calm him down. And after incorrectly recollecting the events, being confused about how did I know, as well as extremely curious about my time zone, for some reason, he just said he would manipulate tomorrow and left, leaving his partner behind, which was also conveniently the guy that offered me help at the beginning and the guy that invited me to the party not knowing it was me all along. How does he keep showing up? No idea. But either way, I thought it was finally time to confront him. Which quite quickly spiraled into deep philosophical discussion about ethics, morality, bunch of random stuff in the middle. And after talking to him for a solid half an hour, well, He seems like a decent guy, like he acknowledged what he's doing isn't right and wasn't trying to excuse it in any way. And I mean, if you were put in front of a button that gives you $1 million every time you press it, with the only catch being that it's being taken from some random guy whom you'll never meet, I'm sure many people would do the same. So like, I just cannot be too mad at him. Contrary to the angry guy, who as promised was back the next day, and this time with different partner, and after getting stopped by me again, and again, he finally had enough, so he joined my island one last time. But to my absolute surprise, he didn't seem angry at all. He just asked for my Discord name so he could send me a screenshot, which I found weird, but intriguing at the same time, so I complied, and after complimenting his profile picture, I got sent a link to a website where I supposedly could find that screenshot, which I found even weirder. Why wouldn't he just download the picture and send it directly? But I mean, it's just one more click, right? So who cares? And before I knew it, both of them were already celebrating that I just got hacked. They got the IP address of some random ass website I used to test the link on, because there is no way I'm clicking on some random link from some random guy who is safe to say doesn't like me very much. Which quite quickly made them stop celebrating, realizing that basically all they did was admitting to trying getting me hacked. Cause I mean, otherwise I would have no idea. Like, yeah, I still wouldn't click the link, but when I saw the result of the scan, literally all I thought was, wait, this cannot be right. He didn't just try to hack me. But yeah, no, he actually did try, to which all I can say is so close. So close. And then for reasons no other than just because I could, I blocked him on Discord. Well, there was still the other guy, whom after asking why does he do it, said he does it for fun and started flexing with all the manipulations he did only that day. And the only thing I couldn't understand is, why would he lie about it? Cause I knew for a fact he couldn't have manipulated at least half of those items cause of the blockade I already put on them a few days ago. And since the blockade was still up, means no one has manipulated those items at least since then. Well, I guess he was trying to appear more impressive by pasting some old screenshots, which is kinda sad. And just got really unlucky cause to be honest, at that point I didn't even put that many blockades yet. There was still a lot more work to be done. Which is basically all I did for the next couple of days, blocking item after item, to the point that whenever you'd click on a random item you are pretty much guaranteed to see one of those weirdly placed offers holding everything together. Which must have been infuriating for anyone who was trying to manipulate at that time, because it basically looked like someone just didn't understand how Bazaar works, has set up an offer no one will ever buy, and now they cannot do anything because of that. While in fact, it was all part of the plan. The stability of almost entire economy was relying on these few inventories filled with bunch of offers with no other purpose than to just exist. And I started doing it because I thought it was the right thing to do. But at some point, I was just doing it for myself, because it was just so entertaining to watch all the manipulators one by one joining your island and being genuinely upset that they cannot do their scam anymore. And some of them even attempting to bribe you hundreds of millions just so you leave a single item alone, not knowing I was not doing it for money, I was doing it for glory. I mean, at least he was nice about it when I refused. Alright, I tried, have a nice day. You indeed tried, man. And things were looking promising from that point. From an average of about 10 manipulations I would see a day, it would go down to like 5, then 2, and even whole days going by without me seeing a single attempt. At which point I really thought I have done it. I have single-handedly stopped market manipulation. But then the 7th day came by from when I put up my first blockade, and with it a roadblock that would be practically impossible to overcome. The first blockade has just expired, which is the case for every offer that has been up for more than 7 days. About which I actually found out a few days prior, but at that point I still hoped that, I don't know, maybe it's not true, or at least there is something you can do about it, like a button to refresh the order or an option to put it at the same price, anything. But no, the offer just disappears from the market, and alongside it, my hopes at being able to stop it by myself. Easily, I should add, cause I mean, if I really wanted, I still could do it. It often takes less than a minute to block one item for an entire week, and I even continued to do that for weeks after that. But at that point, it would basically become a Sisyphean task, where for every blockade I would put up, another would have just expired. Plus, if some of you are paying attention, you probably remember that to set up a blockade, I need to manipulate that item first, and realized that I was basically losing money for nothing in return. And eventually, I would probably run out of it. And well, that's what I thought at the beginning as well, until I realized I was actually making way more money than I was spending, to the point that one of the brand new profiles I created only because I literally ran out of bazaar space on every other profile with bazaar unlocked was sitting at around 300 million coins. Cause as it turns out, 20 million is not always enough to stop people from manipulating an item. I mean, it was at the beginning, but as their options started to shrink, 20 million was their best option, which at first I thought I could use to just farm a ton of money off of them, but then my conscience reminded me that at that point I probably wouldn't even be better than them, if technically I would still be allowing them to scam other people just as long as they pay me enough. That's why later on you can see me switching to setting up offers for 1,000 or 2,000 coins instead, which is still way too low for anyone to even consider manipulating under it, and by setting offers just a little bit higher, this time you make sure that the price will stay low, while also making sure I no longer will be making an absolute bank off of them. Well, except the other thing about me trying to make money in that way is that I would be just stupid. I mean, at that point I had almost whole market under my control. I didn't need to allow them to scam other people to make money from them. Literally, all I needed to do was to cancel a single blockade for one of the items, skyrocketing it to the top of the list like a signal flare shot into the sky, attracting everyone currently looking to manipulate an item. Then, I just needed to create 2 offers. A normal one, and for as much as I can, while making sure the item stays on the top of the list, basically making sure soon someone will try to manipulate it, at which point I just make as much money as I can, and before they can do anything, I just replace the offers. Still, keeping the item on the top of the list, so that even more manipulators could come and keep giving me more money. Okay, I mean, I wasn't making nowhere near as much as manipulating itself, but still way more than enough to create an infinite cycle of putting up blockades if I wanted to. And like I said, because of the 7-day expiry date, at some point it just would require paying way too much attention for me to be wanting to. And which is when I was going to suggest Hypixel some easy things they could implement to fix the whole thing altogether. One of which being, well, removing 7-day expiry date. I mean, come on, it was this close from my perfect plan to be even perfect here. The other thing I was going to suggest was implementing like a confirmation button for suspicious orders similar to the AH, except because I kinda procrastinated making this video for half a year. Hypixel actually already did that, so yeah, good job I guess. And the last thing I am still suggesting to implement is adding like flat 1000 coins to the underbidding rule. So instead it being plus minus 50%, it would be plus minus 50% plus 1000 coins, which would practically organically kill the manipulation by just how easy it would be now to stop it, and incidentally making the low offers to be much easier to manage, and avoiding situations like when you have 71,000 items in an offer which you have bought some time ago for over over 50% what the item costs currently. And now you can't flip the order under the price you have bought it for, but you also can't flip the order over the price you have bought it for, because it's now 50% above the current price. And what Hypixel wants from me in this case is to find a price that will be simultaneously above 14 coins, but below 4.5. Thank you, Hypixel. Very cool. And with that being said, I was probably going to wrap this up. I mean, there is a lot more that happened, like intercepting billions from being stolen, or the eye protection guy in disguise trying to convince me he's actually a cool dude once you get to know him, which I have no doubts could be the case, just kinda weird to be saying it about yourself. Or what I feel like a lot of victims would like to hear, a lot of manipulators actually getting banned and wiped. Except not because they stole billions of coins, but because Hypixel would falsely flag that as IRL trading. Which I know is technically a false ban, but at the same time I cannot help but feel like it was a mission failed successfully kinda moment. Or I mean, would be if a lot of innocent people also weren't caught in the crossfire. So yeah, let's say with the emphasis on failed. And finally, there was also all the stuff that happened before I got involved, like the guy who initially messaged me turning out to be actually one of the bigger manipulators himself and the author behind a lot of the screenshots. And I would get deeper into all that stuff, but I feel like this video is already long and late enough. But there was still one final thing that wasn't giving me peace. Like, why did all of this happen in the first place? So the other day, while in the middle of all this, I was just on YouTube watching random stuff, which is when I came across this video from a couple of years ago, which, to my surprise, just randomly started talking about manipulation on Hypixel. In a slightly different context, cause it was basically showing how to exploit IRL traders using market manipulation as a way to safely transfer coins between profiles to steal money from them, but still. That video has like 3 million views, and even if some people were to every now and then try to repeat what he did, the manipulation shouldn't exist right now. But then I realized, they couldn't repeat what he did, cause of one tiny difference. The underbidding rule. It didn't exist yet, meaning at any time you could set the price to whatever you wanted. And I'll give you 2 guesses as to when was the rule introduced. A day after the video got released. Coincidence? Yeah, honestly, it probably was, cause it seemed like the change was made following a duping incident that happened a few days prior. However, as for the reason the change was made, it seemed to be similar. Okay, I mean, I couldn't find any official statement, however, the most common consensus among the players was that the change was made to stop IRL traders, or dupers in this case, from using Bazaar to safely transfer coins between profiles via overinflated prices, aka to stop IRL traders or dupers from manipulating the market, aka to stop market manipulation. Okay, wait. So you're telling me, this whole thing, everything, billions being stolen, thousands of hours being lost, innocent people getting wiped, all that, because of a feature aimed to stop all of this? And what happened instead is a lot of items suddenly become basically free to buy out, lowering the entry barrier. The manipulations could now become much higher, cause you wouldn't be restricted by people randomly setting ridiculous prices for no reason. And most importantly, once someone knew what he was doing, the feature would give him almost full control over the price, making it almost impossible to stop it. Cause I'm not saying the manipulation wouldn't have happened if the feature wasn't introduced. I'm saying it would take a single person who didn't like it to put the whole thing to the end. From many people I have met along this journey that were trying to do just that. And I mean, heck, even that one video from years ago probably would have been enough, by people not realizing the video was made years ago and still trying to repeat the same steps. Well, unfortunately for them, at the same time the video got released, Hypixel introduced a rule aimed to stop market manipulation. That perfectly stopped market manipulation from being stopped. Thank you, Hypixel. Very cool.